I'm aware that my hair looks quite Dick-esque today, but we ain't gonna be doing nothing about it. I have very stringy, straight hair, and there's coconut oil in it right now, and I don't really feel like doing anything about it, so y'all just gonna have to live with that. Hi everybody, hope y'all are doing well. Today we'll be doing the BookTube Real Talk tag. This tag was created by Books with Alyssa J. I will link her channel in the description down below. Definitely go check out her channel so you can get the questions for the tag if you want to do it. And check her out and subscribe because she's really cool. This is just a tag that kind of gets people to, give their honest thoughts on certain things in the BookTube community and certain things about the BookTube community. And I'm kind of jumping a little bit late on the train. Mostly everybody has done this already. But I figured I'd kind of jump on the train late anyways and let y'all know my thoughts on BookTube and so such. The first thing is, what is something that nobody told you about BookTube before you started your channel? And for me, that was the fact that a lot of books that are popular on BookTube are not necessarily books that are popular in real life. I joined this community back in 2015, so with the exception of general things that were popular at the time, Hunger Games, Divergent, and whatnot, a lot of what was out there was mostly popular on BookTube, and I think that's still very much the case for certain books. Some books are definitely popular generally, but other books are definitely more like BookTube books, if you know what I mean. Next question is, what is your opinion on typical BookTube videos like wrap-ups, TBRs, hauls, etc.? I think I could pretty much borrow from everybody's answer to this question. I definitely understand why some people might be a little bit disenchanted with the monotonous nature of wrap-ups, TBRs, hauls, wrap-ups, TBRs, hauls. But I think there are a fair amount of BookTube channels that stay away from that and do a little bit more out-of-the-box content, if you want to call it that. But also, I think it's important to recognize that even though we are content creators here on BookTube, some of us, myself especially, we ain't artists, we ain't innovative people coming on here to do new things. We just here to talk about books, you know? The typical videos are like a community language, everybody understands them, it's like a ritual, it's like a culture, like BookTube culture, I feel like these videos are a really good way to foster community, but also just give everybody an opportunity to have a template for how they approach BookTube. You understand what I'm saying? The next question is, what is an assumption you had about BookTube before you joined? Was it proven to be correct or not? This is funny. I had a lot of assumptions, particularly when it came to like my race and ethnicity, and I was wondering would people not like my videos if I'm brown? To be honest, I don't really know if that's the case, because people not leaving comments like, I'm not subscribing to your channel because you're a brown-skinned Indian from Trinidad. People are not really doing that. But I did have somewhat of an insecurity about my accent when I first joined the community. I don't know why. I just thought that people wouldn't understand me because of my accent, and it would be too thick or too foreign for most people on BookTube who tend to be from America or Europe or wherever. When I first started my channel, I was kind of making an effort to talk a little bit like that and to adjust my accent ever so slightly so that people could understand me. And then I realized after a while that I didn't need to do that because most people understand me, and most people generally don't really give two fucks about how I speak. I don't get any comments about my accent whatsoever. Nobody tells me that I talk too fast or that they don't understand my accent or it's too thick or anything like that. I would get literally like one comment every 6 months about my accent, and it's usually a compliment, like, oh my god, I love your accent. And yeah, I'm very proud about the way that I speak, and I'm not going to come on here and talk like full-on Trinidadian Creole, because then nobody would understand me. But I think the standard English is good enough. And some Trinidadians do have a tendency to kind of like make the accent a little bougie. They'll be talking all first world, if you're from Trinidad, you know the accent, you know what I'm talking about. If you're from Trinidad, you know the kind of accent I'm talking about. There's kind of like pseudo Becky accent, this kind of like pseudo American accent. Next question is, what is something that you've done that has actually helped you grow your audience? Now let me tell you something about these little bitches on BookTube. Y'all like unpopular opinions, right? Y'all like the discussions and, oh, is the BookTube community racist? Literally my most viewed video ever was my Is BookTube Racist discussion, because we like unpopular opinions. We like bacchanal, as we say in Trinidad, right? We like drama, we like all that kind of stuff. Don't act like y'all don't like it. Don't act like y'all don't like it. That's the thing about human nature. We love drama and we love the unpopular opinion, and I think whenever I make a video that has some sort of slightly negative connotation to it, whether it be like a rant video or a discussion about something negative or an unpopular opinions on a popular book or something like that, people tend to want to see those videos more. I think definitely one thing that you could do to grow your channel is talk about things that might be a little bit more controversial, if you want to, of course. And there are other things like the quality of your videos and stuff like that, and that's tied to privilege. I feel like a lot of people already talked about these things already, so I don't want to go into detail with those things because I'll just be kind of repetitive. But yeah, make some videos about something a little controversial, some little bacchanal, and people want to watch your videos. The next question is, what is a common mistake you see new booktubers making, or one that you made? This is definitely one that I see all booktubers making, and I used to think like this too It's the way that we talk about diversity and representation in the community. It's kind of cringy sometimes and it's weird. Like, I get a kind of a charity vibe from it sometimes. I don't know if you all can understand what I'm talking about. This has two aspects to it. There's diversity and representation in books, and then there's diversity and representation in the actual community. Community wise, I think it's great when everybody does shout outs and, you know, upliftment videos for booktubers of color, queer booktubers, different marginalized booktubers, but sometimes there's this tone of like pity that I don't really like. For example, somebody posted about me on their blog once, and whoever this person is, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the shout out. I really do appreciate it, and this is not me taking you down or whatever. But I was reading it and they were talking about Saajid. He's so funny. I love his videos, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh. And then they ended it off with, oh, and I believe he's marginalized, so he could use the support. And I was like, sis, I mean, things bad, but it ain't that bad. Like, oh my God, like, Jesus Christ, y'all, it's not that deep sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? Like, don't just assume that because somebody's queer, or because they're a person of color, or because they're disabled, or because they're this, or because they're that. Don't just assume that their life is nothing but sorrow. And don't think that, you know, you automatically have this great privilege over them just because there's lots of other factors, you know, working in our lives, right? So yeah, just consider that and consider the language. It's more so the language than what's actually in your mind. So just consider those things when you're talking about like other booktubers in the community. And then, well, I have to do a whole video about this. I do plan on doing one, but it's how we talk about diversity in books. We have this tendency to praise a book every time there's like colored and queer characters. Like, you know, it's just, I tweeted about this already, but it's like people would always talk about how, oh, you know, this book has, you know, a black person and an Asian person and a gay person and a disabled person and a this person and a that person. And it's like, okay, that's great. I think the representation is fantastic, and I think that that's definitely validating. But should we be praising those books to that extent? And are we questioning whether the representation and diversity is actually good and if it actually does something? I remember when Becky Albertalli wrote The Upside of Unrequited, which I still haven't read as yet and probably never will because I don't really care to. Before I heard anything about the plot, before I heard anything about what the book is about, I heard, and I still hear more about the diversity in the book than the actual book itself. That the main protagonist is Jewish, and she has a twin sister, and twin sister is gay, and then she has two mothers, and one of them is black, and one of them is Jewish, and then they have a half-black brother, and this one is gay, and this one is queer, and this one is this, and this one is that, and all these different labels. And again, fantastic, good on Becky Albertalli for including some diversity in her book, but the main protagonist of the book is a straight white woman. Becky Albertalli is also a straight white woman, right? So like, and I remember at some point Becky Albertalli literally tweeted out, y'all need to stop putting my book on queer lists because it's not a queer book, because even though they are queer side characters, the main character of the book is not gay. I am also not gay or queer. There's no real representation there. I will leave an article in the description down below that was written by Huda Katebi, who, if you don't know Huda Katebi, you should know her. Go follow her on Twitter. She's bad. I love her. She wrote an article in the Washington Post about a hijabi model who posed for a swimsuit magazine, and she wore a hijab, a burkini, and on the surface level it was great representation. It was nice to see a hijabi model included within the context of swimwear, because Muslims swim too, right? So it was nice to see that, right? And Muslim girls with hijab swim too. And it's often a struggle if you want to wear the hijab and you want to dress, you know, quote unquote modest and play around in the water, and you don't really have much options and stuff like that, and you don't really see yourselves as normal because you're going to the beach dressed up like that. So yeah, the representation is great. But she talked about the fact that the magazine is known for exploiting women and exploiting women's bodies and promoting false ideals about the body and how your body should look, because it's a swimsuit magazine. And then there was the whole thing about the outfits that she was wearing, the hijabi model, being made in like sweatshops where Muslim women were actually like exploited in those sweatshops. How that article is relevant for the BookTube community is that it should get us thinking about the way that we interrogate diversity and representation. Just because something is represented on a surface level and that might seem validating at first doesn't mean that it's automatically progressive, and we should be a little bit more critical of how diversity is put forward in the media that we consume. So yeah, I think that's everything that I have to say about that question. Let's move on to the next one. What are your thoughts on working with publishers and sponsorships? sis, like, work with them shits. Do what you have to do to get that money. I've had a couple of opportunities here and there. I've never like explicitly worked with a publisher to post a video on my channel, but I've had like people send me books, people send me offers. I'm making a video right now for another YouTube channel that reached out to me. So there's a lot of different things that I've done in the past, and I think it's fantastic, and I think it's great to work, and it's great to get some money off of something that's a hobby, and it's great for the exposure as well. I don't really see why people like to have a problem with it sometimes. It says we live in a hard world and bitches need money, so do what you have to do. The next one is, do you think BookTube is dying? And that's just going to be a big fat no. It's not. It's really not, because it's growing, in my opinion. Maybe because of the fact that the community is growing, the main booktubers who are seen as the main booktubers and the biggest booktubers are now becoming a little bit more diluted. And I don't think they mind, and nobody else minds. The community is getting bigger, and there's a lot more to us than there was, like, say, 5 years ago when I joined. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything. Number 8 is tag your friends. I ain't tagging nobody. Do the tag if you want to do the tag. Me, if you want bother to tag nobody. That's everything that I have to say. This is also very off the cuff, so I don't really do scripted content anymore because I'm a lazy bitch. In the comments down below, let me know your thoughts on any of the things that we discussed today. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely, lovely day, and until next time, inshallah, keep reading.